The Vikings master plan for Week 14 versus the Washington Commanders has been revealed by Kevin O'Connell ahead of a game that could end our season or keep it alive for one more week. And we have our midweek injury report on a thankfully fairly healthy week before Sunday's big game. We're going to break down all of that in this episode of Vikings Digest. But first, if you're part of the 90% of viewers who are not yet subscribed yet, you want to stay up to date on all things Vikings, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of the episodes when they drop. And with that, let's hop straight into the first topic of the day, which is the Week 14 master plan for the Minnesota Vikings. So Kevin O'Connell had a press conference yesterday, and the big thing of emphasis that he pointed to was about going 1-0 this week. It's about trying to go 1-0, and if you've ever understood or questioned why a cliche like that is used, we're in a moment where it matters more so now than ever, because it's not 1-0 to win 5 in a row or 9 in a row. It's to go 1-0, and that's where we're at right now. And you can't help but think that Kevin O'Connell is alluding to the Vikings' current playoff chances that are sitting at just above 1% right now, along with the Falcons and the Commanders. And whoever loses this Vikings-Commanders game, they are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs at a 0% chance, especially if the Falcons lose as well. So Minnesota is to stay alive for one more week. And yes, this also indicates that Minnesota not only has to go 1-0 every week, but they have to basically hope that a lot of other teams lose along the way and get some help to get in by basically a miracle to go 9-8 and get some help with these other teams losing, primarily some within our division. I know we're going to be watching that Packers and Bears game very closely as well as we play the Packers in the final week of the regular season. I'm not saying that we're going to be able to run the table here, but at least we can keep hope alive for one more week playing against a dumpster fire team like the Commanders. If we can at least beat them, our defense is much better than theirs is, but at least at the end of the day, there is still a sliver of a chance for the Vikings, and that is all that Kevin O'Connell needs, because that was one of the things he emphasized last year, was going 1-0 every single week as we were competing with the Detroit Lions for that division lead and that division crown. And then the last 2 weeks of the season, the bottom just fell out for us. Well, mainly the last week of the season when we played them for all the marbles. And then in the playoff game, it all just fell apart. And now we're at where we're at now. And that was a very kind of like indicative moment, was that week 18 game playing against the Lions, where it was kind of like the beginning of the end for the Vikings at that point. And it's been a downhill slope ever since. But if they can get a win on Sunday, it can be a small step towards trying to turn around, maybe not for this year, but for next year, to try and have something worth being excited for next year. But that was the thing that Kevin O'Connell also wanted to touch on, was the winning qualities. It's important when you talk about what it's going to take to win a game, and that coincides with getting the quote-unquote train back on the tracks. We have to stop doing things to lose games before we get a chance to win them ourselves. And this is alluding to certain things that have had to happen on special teams, on defense, on offense as well, where we've had multiple chances to win some of these games. Yes, I know sometimes it's a bit delusional in thinking that there was some games that we were absolutely going to win when we were just not playing well at all. But there was a lot of games. That Bears game, we could have won that game if we made one play on special teams. It wasn't a pretty game, wasn't a game we deserved to win necessarily, but it would have been a win nonetheless. And there's been other times too where it's been on special teams, whether it's been a run, whether it's been a fumble too, where even in that Packers game, there was a chance where, okay, we were getting the ball back, our defense was playing solid up until that point, especially to start the second half, where we could have gone on a drive there and scored a touchdown to get kind of back in the game. And then that fumble happens, and the Packers have the ball in the red zone, and we're completely depleted once they score a touchdown. Then you look at the Chargers game as well. That scoop and score that was called back, that was another big momentum shift, and then it just ended up biting us in the ass. So there's all these things here where Minnesota has these one plays. Even in the Philly game, you look at the TJ Hawkinson touchdown that was called back. That was a big one. Or the touchdown earlier in that game that was called back for the holding call on Blake Brandel that absolutely was not a holding call. So there's all these things here where Minnesota is almost, I'm not necessarily saying they're one play away from winning these games, but there's been a lot of instances where when you break it down to one play, could have changed not just the entire structure of the game, but just the momentum of the game. And like Aaron Jones was saying in his press conference yesterday, momentum is a huge thing in this league that analytics cannot measure, and that is absolutely true. Who's to say that Minnesota would have won those games if they had not had those freak plays happen early on in the game? Not necessarily, but at least they would have had more momentum and at least had more of a fighting chance to pull off a win rather than just being embarrassed the way that they were and having those plays go the wrong way. So that is going to be a huge thing. There's all these self-inflicting wounds that Minnesota has not been able to shake all season, whether it's been fumbles, interceptions, false starts, offsides, holding calls, everything under the sun, blocking the back on special teams. There's been so many things where Minnesota has consistently just shot themselves in the foot, and they cannot shake it. So hopefully within these last couple of games, they can shake some of it, or at least have a bit of a winning, more of a winning mentality, and trying to get those winning qualities to carry over into next season, where they can have a full head of steam and try and have a good bounce back year. But the quotes did not stop there from Kevin O'Connell, as he did touch on how they are in troubling times as well, saying that we are in the midst of troubling times, but how we handle these times and how we show the ability to persevere through these times are what the path moving forward will be forged upon as well, saying that we're in a moment now where we need to all respond to the right way together, and we've got the leadership to do it, we've got the players to do it, and talking about it gets you to a certain point, but then it's about action plans on the grass and making sure that happens. And this ties into what he was saying too about those one play away things, where we have the defense to do this. We need offense to be complementary of it. We have the players to do this. It just has to be a matter of executing it on the field. We have the leadership to pull this off. It's just a matter of all of the pieces lining up. So yes, all the pieces are there on paper. And we said this heading into the season, where aside from quarterback, Minnesota seemed to have gotten better in every single aspect, and quarterback was just a big question mark. And as we saw, that question mark was revealed to be a negative rather than a positive throughout the course of the season. But on paper, Minnesota has all the pieces there. When you look at their roster, it's mind-blowing to think that they're at the record that they're at when you rule out the quarterback position. Obviously, the quarterback is a big factor because your receivers are only as good as their quarterbacks and things like that. But it's a lot like the NFC counterpart of the Chargers, where you look at some of these, look at their rosters, not just this year, but over the past couple of decades, where they have the pieces in play. It's just a matter of executing it all out on the grass, having good luck with injuries, and as well as not getting screwed by the refs, and just making sure that everyone, all 11 guys out there on the field, are executing their job at the same time. It's very difficult to do. That's why winning a Super Bowl is so hard. But Minnesota, they just got to get over that hump and get that execution going. So that is going to be a big thing for this week. We're playing against a depleted Commanders team, so hopefully we can just take advantage of that and just kind of run wild with it. If Jaden Daniels plays, maybe we're a little bit screwed. I don't know. But let us know what you guys thought about this down below. And then Kevin O'Connell also went on to talk about JJ McCarthy, which of course is a big topic of conversation, because he said we've talked a lot about plenty of plays that you guys have probably locked away for eternity of fundamentals and technique, and I appreciate the interest and understanding of the quarterback development process. However, as I talked to him this week, it's purely about decision making at this point. There will be a time to fundamentally focus on things and continue building this layer of a foundation that will be important for him in the future. But now it feels like he's got enough experience. He knows a lot of these principles that we've talked about. I just want him to have a clear head and a clear mind to just go out and play with it, but play with an understanding of the decisions he makes with the ball in his hands, as a decisions as a passer, and as we've learned, very important as a runner, to protect himself and make sure we can keep him in there. So yes, JJ McCarthy's health has been a big topic of conversation basically ever since he got drafted, with him or ever since he got into the preseason with that torn meniscus. Okay, there's one injury, he's out for the whole year. Then we get into this year, and then he has the high ankle sprain, so then he's out for another 6 weeks. Then we had last week where he was out with a concussion. So he's a quarterback that has an injury problem, and we saw with Jackson Dart getting murdered by the New England Patriots, where quarterbacks really need to protect themselves, especially these young guys where they come in from college, where they're not getting used to getting just absolutely hit sticked by these massive 30-year-old men. There's not these 25-year-olds in college or these 22-year-olds in college anymore laying a just kind of not a wussy hit, but not a huge hit, not a whopping hit by an absolute veteran in the NFL. When you're a quarterback like Jackson Dart or JJ McCarthy or even Drake May, even though he doesn't escape the pocket very much, he does a great job of protecting himself though. But when you're a young quarterback, when you're rolling out and you have a guy like Patrick Queen, or you have a heat-seeking missile like Fred Warner coming at you, it is very hard to deal with. Or if you're a quarterback in the pocket and you got guys like Myles Garrett ready to crush you rather than some of the defensive ends that you face in college, it's a lot different of an adjustment, and it's a bit of an ego check sometimes for these quarterbacks too, where even with Jackson Dart, he's probably thinking, damn, I can't run it the way I was able to in college. It's a whole different ball game here. Kind of puts your ego in check a little bit and makes you have to change up your game, or at least be a little bit more cautious. And that's what Kevin O'Connell is issuing here, is just JJ's got to go out there, focus on decision-making fundamentals. At that point, we're at where we're at with the fundamentals. We're focusing on that for next season. It's just a matter of, okay, let's work with what we got right now and just be smart with the football. Throw those checkdowns. Even if you have to turn into check down Kirk Cousins, you have to do it, because we just got to move the ball and get something going and hope that we can break free. We got Jalen Naylor, who's fast on those drag routes. We got Jordan Addison, who's usually great with hands, but not this year. And of course, we got the best wide receiver in the world in Justin Jefferson. So it's just a matter of going out there, making the smart plays, and Kevin O'Connell put him in a position to have those plays. Don't have these massive explosive plays that take a long time to develop. This hasn't been working all year. It isn't going to work now. So have these quick hitting routes that we've been getting burned on by other teams all year so that we can kind of turn the tables and at least do some damage to them. But hopefully we are going to see some of these things be corrected into this week. But let us know what you guys have to say about this week's matchup against the Washington Commanders, and what do you think about our chances, regardless if Jaden Daniels or Marcus Mariota is playing quarterback. But that's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is the midweek injury updates. So also yesterday, it was revealed that Ty Chandler was going to be activated. It's going to be opening his 21-day evaluation window where he could be activated. They also signed a rookie undrafted free agent in Joaquin Davis to their practice squad. But the big one that Kevin O'Connell wanted to touch on was Donovan Jackson and Christian Darrisaw, saying that Donovan is not quite there yet from a standpoint of practice and participating in practice, but he's rapidly recovering and doing everything in his power to be on the field. He's proven he can go out there and play at a pretty high level if he can get to that place. And then, like I said, Monday, the plan for Christian is to have a normal work week and flow in playing the football game. So with Christian Darrisaw, we're seeing like we're all things go and all things on schedule there. But Donovan Jackson, it's going to be a little bit of work to kind of get him to play on Sunday. But we've seen him play this year through some injuries, the wrist surgery, and some other ones here and there. So he's a tough buddy. He's going to go and he's going to go out there and he's going to play his ass off if he can go and he can get that stabilization and that power. And we're going to need it against the Washington Commanders defense that isn't necessarily the greatest, but they could be very sneaky and try and create some pressure. So it's going to be interesting to see what Minnesota kind of does to adjust offensively. As I know, it's been very hard to watch some of these games this year. It's been abysmal at times. It's been embarrassing at times. It's been maybe some of the worst Vikings games that we've ever seen. But that's the beauty of the NFL, is that it's any given Sunday, no matter how bad the Vikings have been playing. At least we're playing against another really bad Commanders team that we at least have a chance to win, as we do every week, no matter how slim it is. There's always that little bit of a chance. So Lloyd Christmas is going to be in our heads on Sunday saying, hey, let's keep this chance alive as long as we can. But that remains to be seen. I'm not getting my hopes up too high, but there still is some little bit of hope there. Let us know what you guys thought about this down in the comments below, as well as if you think that Christian Darrisaw and Donovan Jackson are going to be all things go on Sunday. But that's going to do it for this episode of Vikings Digest. I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.